reporting to you live from 1955. My boy Pistol Pete Maravich is still in the NBA, and he's the best NBA player of all time. NBA peaked in 1956, 10 years after it was invented. If Pistol Pete was in the NBA today, easy 75 points, 15 rebounds, 15 assists. If you come into my paint, I'm going to elbow you right in the kidney. I'm going to punch you right in the nuts. You're out for the rest of the game. I'm going to deck you right in the jaw. Boom, boom. This is real men's NBA basketball. What do you even know about this? You wouldn't know about this because y'all are 2025 sissies shooting your little threes. Woo, look at me shoot my little three. I know nothing about men's basketball. Please like and subscribe or don't. I want the channel to fail. I'm so sick of people saying basketball peaked back in 1955. Basketball peaked back in Jordan's era and Kobe and Shaq's era. That was the peak of basketball. Steph Curry and LeBron battling the finals. That was the peak of basketball. When Kevin Durant went to the Warriors, people try to argue that was the peak of basketball. Basketball hasn't peaked. It's been around since 1946. The league's not even 100 years old, and the game keeps evolving and evolving year after year. Are there too many three-pointers being shot? I would say there probably are. I probably agree with you on that point. I wouldn't say it's so much the amount of three pointers being shot. It's more that players just want to go ISO and get into their one on one ISO bag and shoot a step back 45-foot three pointer, and then 30, 40 of those get shot per game, and it looks kind of ugly at times. Back in 2014, the peak of basketball, some people would say, I'm a Spurs fan, so I loved it, but the Spurs win the championship that year. There's people that loved basketball back then, people that would hate on it and say, man, this basketball sucks compared to Michael Jordan's era. But 2014 Spurs, beautiful basketball, passing the ball all around the perimeter, dump it down to Tim Duncan, swing, 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 all around, wide open threes all day for everybody. Ginobili, Patty Mills, Danny Green, y'all just eat as much as you want and make a million threes each every single game of the finals. Beautiful basketball, beautiful to watch, but people would see that and still say, oh, Michael Jordan's era is way better than this beautiful ball movement, wide open three ball basketball. Again, my point, all the isolation step back threes can look ugly, but if a team's taking a large amount of threes, but it's based on ball movement and just wide open looks, I really don't have a problem with that. But again, I'm so sick of people saying basketball peaked now, it peaked at this time in the 90s, 2000, whatever it is. Skip Bayless made a whole career of just being a troll and hating on people. He was hating on LeBron even back in 2007, which was the peak of basketball, some people would say. So it's not like there haven't been haters of every generation of basketball. Even when that era was happening back in the Jordan era, there were a lot of haters of Michael Jordan until he won his first title. And then there still were haters, but he got a lot more love. And now, looking back at Jordan 20, 30 years later now, of course, everyone calls him the god of basketball, greatest of all time. I would agree, but back in the 1990s finals, I watched the 91 finals, I'm watching the 92 finals. I'm not hating on the players. There were still good players, Clyde Drexler, Jordan, of course, Duckworth on the Trailblazers. There were some badass players out there, but they weren't nearly as skilled as today's NBA players. If you don't think so, go watch the full games. They're on YouTube. Never seen so many air balls. Clyde Drexler shooting crazy air balls. He had really weird footwork. He would pivot off of his right foot, but he shot the ball with his right hand. So it looked really weird the way he would pivot, because of course most people, they're pivoting off their left foot to get up their right-handed shot, or if they're left-handed, they're doing that opposite pivot like Clyde Drexler would do. But the point is, players couldn't shoot, dribble. Passing was still fine back then. There were some great passers, but offensively today, there's more skilled players in the NBA top to bottom as far as isolation scoring goes, dribbling, shooting the ball especially. I've never seen so many air balls as I was seeing in those finals games. Not to be a hater, you can watch them if you want. They're just airballing shots like crazy. 4 or 5 air balls in one half. More travels than I've ever seen. The travel was called so tightly back then that it wasn't so much the player's fault. But then I saw egregious travels that weren't called at all. So officiating hasn't always been perfect. People act like, Jordan era was perfect, or Shaq and Kobe era was perfect, or whenever Steph Curry was winning, that was the peak of basketball. It it gets frustrating to see people wanting to always look back. It was better 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Basketball was way better than it is today, and we just had a 7'6" alien come in the league 2 years ago. I'm a Spurs fan, but even if I wasn't, I'd be watching Victor Wembanyama games. Dude's a freak. He has point guard style skills. He can dribble outside on the perimeter, shoot step back threes, block every single shot within 20 feet of him. It seems like crazy dunks. He can do everything. He can do things we've never seen before on the court. Anthony Edwards is in the league. He probably has a freaking 55-inch vertical, just dunking on dudes' heads, making crazy threes, crazy handles on the perimeter. Cade Cunningham, Steph Curry's still here, LeBron is still here, even though Steph and LeBron are getting ready to retire soon. We have SGA, one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen, even though he flops and foul baits. Blame that on the officiating. I don't blame that on the players for taking advantage of that. But there's just more talent than ever in the NBA. Giannis is 30, Nikola Jokic is 30, more superstars than ever in the NBA, and people want to call it watered down just because there's not one superstar super team like the Heat or the Bulls. The Bulls were a super team in the time when they were winning rather. People act like it was all Michael Jordan, but he had a lot of help. Cartwright was cold down low. Horace Grant was a great big man. Pippen, of course. John Paxson can't miss a shot out there in the finals. He just makes every single shot he takes, it feels like. So those super teams, Bulls, Heat, the Warriors, people act like they missed that and they want to see that instead of see all these superstars spread out across the NBA. Again, Wemby, Giannis, LeBron, Steph, Cade Cunningham, SGA. There's so many different superstar style players and just spread out across the NBA, and people want to say that it's watered down or, man, I missed 10 years ago, 20 years ago when you have all these superstar players you can watch today. Again, we have Wembanyama come in the NBA, something like we've never seen before. Cooper Flag just came in. I think Cooper Flag's overhyped, but he looks like he'll be an exciting young player as well. Just so much star talent you can watch, and instead of watching all these star players that we can see today, people just want to look back to the 2014 Steph Curry days. Those are the best days ever. The people that didn't like those days, that were a little bit older, want to look back and say, oh, the Kobe days were the best days ever. The people that were a little bit older in the Kobe days want to look back and say the Jordan days were the best days ever. So basically, once you start getting a little older and whatever generation was your favorite generation when you were younger, you're going to look back and say, man, this era is better than that era, is better than that era. And people just keep going back 10 years and saying this era 10 years ago was better. And they just get stuck in like a time loop, if that makes sense. Like, this is my best era ever. I'm not going to appreciate anything after this point because I only appreciate this era from 10 years ago when Kobe played or Jordan played, just depending on how old you are, if that makes sense. So I'm going to have to start calling some of these people Unc. Y'all are acting like uncles out there. Again, I'm 32. I know we're getting older, but y'all are acting like unks out there. Oh, this era sucks. Back 10 years ago when Steph Curry was playing, that was the best time ever to be a basketball fan. Okay, Unc, go ahead and watch some Wembanyama games. Stop hating on these newer players because there's so many talented players we can still watch in the NBA. Please like and subscribe, or don't. Please comment below.